Hi, my name is Deborah Kennedy, and I'm part of the Studio G Artist in Residence program at Georgetown Children's Hospital. I'm a poet, by extension, a writer, and I get writer's block just like everybody does. So the name of this is called The Creativity Hack. And just like the computer hacker, they get past a wall or barrier. We're going to look at trying to get past a wall or barrier to your creative self. Now, I want to start with you are creative. Everybody has a creative side. Um, if not, we'd still be living in caves. We figure things out over time, we get past our constraints, and we move on. So whether it's at work, at home, in a creative endeavor, you have a creative spark. And so we're going to see if we can get to that. We're going to start with the excuses because we just need to get those out of the way. The first one is, oh, it takes me a while to get my stuff together. Well, don't do that. Have all your stuff in one place, ready to go within a minute. So if you're a visual artist, that's the hardest. You have your stuff in a drawer or on a shelf so that you can just pull it out and go. That means you're not going to be doing oil painting during this activity. Have colored pencils or even markers and a sketchbook. Those things you can have ready to go. Writers have a folder on your computer where you can just pick up a template and you're ready to roll. Composers, musicians, you will not always have your instrument with you. So be able to pull up a keyboard on your laptop. And then even though if that isn't your instrument of choice, you'll be able to do some stuff and maybe learn a new skill in the meantime. If you're a photographer, if you don't have a phone camera with you, I'm shocked. So you should have the easiest time. It's already in your back pocket. Next, set limits. I know you don't have much time, and that's part of why you're watching this because it doesn't take too long. Give yourself a set amount of time and set a timer. So you sit down and you need to work until that timer hits. You cannot get up. But when it does hit, get up and move and do something else. What that'll do is the next time you'll know that it's only 15 minutes and that you don't have to interrupt to do something else because it's only 15 minutes. And try to stay with that. And then those things you can pull up later and do something that takes more time. And every now and then you can kind of blow past the timer and say, okay, I'm going to use my time. I encourage you to set that timer and live by it almost always. Next, manufacture inspiration. So people periodically will tell me that they're waiting for inspiration, like it's this divine effort that's going to just fill them full of inspiration and a piece is going to come flowing out from them and it's going to be miraculously beautiful. And no, that doesn't work for me. I don't know whether it works for you, but that's not the way it works. If I did that, I maybe will have written 5 things in my entire life. So don't wait for divine inspiration. We're going to get to how you get to what you need to do. And then the last thing is do the work. If you want to write, you will never do it until you actually sit down and do it. Same thing with an artist. If you don't get something on paper, then nothing will ever happen. That's what you have to do. You have to sit down and do it. And for photographers, I take pictures. One of the most important things you can do is go back through your pictures and edit. Get rid of the ones you don't like, set up the ones that you do. Those are really good things to do in those 15 minutes to get rid of all the extra. Let's see, now we're going to get to our hack. The things you need are a piece of paper or your keyboard, your laptop, and a big book. And I found that Harry Potter works very well for my big book. And you'll see what we're going to do with that later. First, write on your page the numbers 0 through 9. You're going to need that 0. Now, we're going to do this a little bit differently for each group, and we're going to start with writers because that's easier for me. we're going to write emotions for each one of those numbers. So I have hopeful, happy, jealous, sad, scared, surprised, angry, confused, bored, and goofy. And those are just the ones I picked. You can pick something else, and that's fine. Just put something down on the paper. Got that? Got it? Okay, next. We are going to take our very big book and open it to whatever page you get. And mine happens to be 371. So, which are our emotions for 371? We have sad, confused, and happy. Oh, those are really good. So what you're going to try to do is write something where you start at one of the emotions and you go through to another. You only have to choose two for this one. This one actually works really well because you could go from happy, confused to sad, or the other way around. I mean, they won't all work that way, but it's a good way of kind of going from one to the other. Now, if you're writing more than a poem, if you're writing a short story, whatever, you might have two characters who are those primary emotions and how those clash together. So, you've got a starting place. Next, these are the instructions in case you forget. You get a big book, you open the book to get a couple of numbers, and then you tell a story. And then that story can be one that you either remember about yourself or one that you make up. Doesn't matter. Just write something down. Let's go to what we do for visual artists. This is almost exactly the same. We're going to start with our same big heavy book and we're going to open it up now to page 434. Oh, that's interesting because we have one twice. 434, so that is sky blue, orange, and sky blue. That's a pretty big constraint. So if you have a double number, then I'm going to let you pick another number. So let's just say it's sky blue, orange, and green. That might be tough. That's a pretty big constraint because the idea is you use those colors, primarily those colors, plus white and black. And don't cheat. If you get red and yellow, don't make orange. Those are your colors. And you need to think of something like a landscape, anything. You know, it could be a picture of a girl with a dress that's those colors. Just anything you want. But it needs to be those colors. And you get the extra of using black and white. Got it? Okay. Our music and composer folks. This may seem pretty straightforward. You have the keys, the notes, A through G, and then you've got some extra things. So I just picked 3 things that I thought would be another kind of constraint. So like it has to be in minor key, or you have to have it in a 5-note range because maybe it's for kids to sing or whatever. And or you could make it that it has to be not in 4/4 time. Or you could have it that it has to be in March, or that it has to be for a specific occasion. It has to be a Christmas song. It doesn't matter. What you've done is you've given yourself constraints. And by doing that, you're going to find something that you wouldn't normally find. Let's go to the photographers. Now, this one is near and dear to my heart. I take thousands of pictures, literally, and have a hard time sometimes really focusing on what I want. So these are subject matters. It's either for you to go out and shoot, have new stuff, or look through the stuff that you already have and make decisions about what you're going to keep. My thought is that if you're really going to keep one as something that's important to you, that's not a family picture, you probably are going to edit it a little bit. So if you're not editing it, think about why you're keeping it and be kind of ruthless in what you keep and what you don't, because there are going to be more and more pictures over time. You only have to pick one. If you want to be really constrained, you could use two at the same time. So if you had machines and bugs, that might be a difficult constraint, but you never know. You might get it. If you're doing one of the other groups, you might want to do a color or two colors and a subject matter and see what you can do. These are all just ways to narrow in to what you want to do, to find a place that you can settle and do something with without it being everything in the world. So that's the photographer piece, and now we come to the end. We are done with our creativity hack, and we're going to go back to our excuses so that we know that we are through with those. Be ready. Have your stuff in a place where you can get to it within a minute. No excuses. Set limits. Get yourself a timer. Set it to 15 minutes. No more, no less. That means you have to stay in your seat 15 minutes, but at the end of that, you can go do whatever else it is. So there's no guilt in 15 minutes. People waste that all the time. Manufacturer inspiration. You can do it a million ways, but here's one that I use that is kind of fun. It's random, and random is good. And then the last one, do the work. Nobody ever wrote a word by leaving it in their head. Nobody ever painted a picture if the idea sat in their head. You have to sit down and do the work. Or photographers, go out and shoot. You just have to do it. And that's the hardest thing for me. Sometimes I'll have an idea and it's just like, oh, if I sit down and I can't get it, that's going to be a problem. No, it's not. That's it. That's your creativity hack. I hope you go off and do amazing things, and let us know what you come up with.